Alright, YouTube, in this video, I want to talk about the game of Manhunt. Now, me personally, myself, I believe that after Rockstar creates GTA 6, they ought to do Manhunt 3, and let me explain why. Manhunt is one of those games where there's really no other game like it. I mean, there are some horror games, stealth games, but Manhunt's just one of a kind where it's just humans versus, you know, a death row inmate. So, basically, the way the game of Manhunt, how it works is James Earl Cash is this guy who's on death row for like 3 years or whatever, and he's sentenced to be lethally injected. Where well, they take him to the stretcher or whatever to do it with, and it makes it look like they kill him, but in reality they just tranquilize him or whatever. And he wakes up, and there's this guy with this who's talking to him through like this earpiece, and he's telling him, he's like, "Hey, the hunters are after you. I'm your only way out of here. Listen to me, and you'll be out before the night's over with." Well, basically the game starts out where the weapons he's using are pretty much just his fists and little small stuff like a glass shard or a bag that he suffocates him with and things like that. But as the game goes on, towards the end of the game, you can use firearms, and at the last level, you can actually use a chainsaw. But the only thing about the game, there's only two difficulty levels. You have fetish and hardcore, which hardcore is just the same thing, just without the map. I mean, Rockstar could have definitely done better things with this game. But like I say, this game came out over 20-something years ago. It came out in like 2003. It's 2024 now. But I think with Manhunt, if it had modern day graphics, how much better the game would be. You know, like picture with a upgraded everything. You know, if it was like Red Dead Redemption graphics, but with Manhunt, you know, the storyline and everything. I'm sorry if I'm stumbling over words. I'm trying to play this game as I'm talking to y'all. But as I said, this game came out over 20-something years ago. But Rockstar, it seems like all they really care about is Red Dead Redemption and GTA, the series. I mean, Bully came out over like almost 20 years ago as well. Bully came out like 2006 or something like that. And it's like, I think, one thing that Rockstar could really do with this game, if they could kind of tie in, because there's a theory that a lot of gamers have that James Earl Cash is actually the father of Jimmy Hopkins from the game Bully. So if they could tie that in together, I mean, it would be a cool storyline. I feel like, you know, maybe you could have Manhunt 3 as Jimmy growing up, and he's became this, criminal his own self due to his father's, wanting to be like him. Or you could just bring back James Earl Cash to the game. Because the thing with Manhunt is the storyline at the end, there's really no clear answer to what happens to Cash once the game's over with. Because basically Starkweather brings him instructions to end up going to his own mansion, and he ends up killing Starkweather with the chainsaw through the door, and then he cuts his head off with the chainsaw at the end. But with the game, there's really no indication of whether Cash, if he just moves out of town or whatever. So I think if you could tie it in with Bully, or at least give us a clear, idea of what happens to James Earl Cash at the end. But I feel like GTA is one of them things that's just overdone. Like, they've been on Grand Theft Auto 5 for literally like 10, 13, 14 years. Well, about 10, 11 years now or whatever. I mean, they've been on GTA 5, and they've really done nothing besides that in Red Dead Redemption. I mean, Manhunt, I believe, is one of the most unappreciated games of all time, simply due to how unique it is. I mean, it really, like in Grand Theft Auto, where you can take cover and things like that, it came from Manhunt. I mean, I could be wrong with that, but I think Manhunt was one of the first games where you could really use stealth to your advantage. And it's very violent. I mean, it's been banned in multiple countries, as you can tell by some of these executions and things that Cash does. But this is one of those games where it's one of a kind. There's really not any other game out there like it. With Grand Theft Auto, you can go on mobile apps and find, GTA rip-off games like Gangster Vegas and stuff like that. But Manhunt's not one of them games where, like Call of Duty, for instance, there's a million first-person shooter games out there, but there's really not that many games that I can think of off the top of my head that would even be similar to Manhunt. But I think if Rockstar could kind of make it where it would be online as well, similar to like a Dead by Daylight maybe type of scenario, where everybody's hunting each other down maybe. But this isn't one of them games where you can just speed rush through it unless you know what you're doing. It ain't like Grand Theft Auto where you can just go wide open and do crazy stuff. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to die. Just like now, what I'm about to do. It's one of them games where the more you play it, the better you get at it. And it's more of a strategy of remembering the levels throughout the game. Once you remember where all the enemies are, that's how some of these guys get where they can just speed rush through it. But this is one of them games where it's just, like I've said over and over this video, it's unique. And it takes skill of remembering at least the layout of the map and all. I'd say one of the hardest levels was towards the end. I think it was Border Patrol. I want to say one of them where you're going up to start weather mansion. I mean, I had to play that level 100, 200 times before I finally beat it. You know, I had to go on YouTube and everything to figure out how to do some of these levels just because of how confusing some of them were. But I think if it was more advanced, similar to how Grand Theft Auto is advanced over the years, because you got to think, around this time, this was 2003, so this wasn't long after Vice City, Grand Theft Auto 3, not too long before San Andreas. And look at those games compared to Grand Theft Auto 5, compared to, you know, how much bigger the map and everything is. If Manhunt was like that, you know, with a way bigger map, you know, way more stuff to do, more weapons, the game could really, I think, take a takeoff, and it would bring more people into the genre. And I think Manhunt would have the potential to be the next big thing in Rockstar. But that's all I got to say. I hope y'all enjoy the video. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Peace out.